Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, we've gone over some different things, the basics of ETFs and all these other things, REITs and some stocks and just all sorts of goodies, right? Well, today we're going to talk about how to save for retirement if you don't have a 401k, right? Because if you're one of the millions of, people out there who have a job that doesn't have a workplace retirement plan, or maybe you work for yourself, right? You know, you can still save for retirement, right? As long as you have, money coming in, you have some tax advantage saving options, right? So we're going to get into those today, right? So, first thing we're going to talk about an IRA. Because you've probably heard of IRAs, right? An individual retirement account, right? Anyone with earned income, including those who do not work for themselves but have a working spouse, can open an IRA. There are a few different options, Roth and traditional. Each offers a tax benefit, right? And it really depends on which one you're like. I know a lot of people like, you have to go with Roth or you have to go with traditional. Really, each one has a set of certain circumstances that would make one or the other better for you, and it really has to do with your income and your tax situation and stuff like that. So it's better to look into those different criteria to see where you think you fall, or easier way is to go out as a professional, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be a SEP IRA, right? Simplified Employee Pension IRA, right? So if you are self-employed or have income from freelancing, you can open a SEP IRA plan, right? So let's talk about who can open one, right? It's available to sole proprietors, partnerships, C corporations, and S corporations. I know some people who have like say here on YouTube, right? They started a YouTube channel. It got bigger than what they thought it was going to be, so they end up turning it into like an S corp, and they were able to open a SEP IRA through by doing that, right? So how does that work, right? So contributions to a SEP IRA could potentially be tax deductible, right? The amount you can put in varies based on your income. The most an employer can contribute to an employee's SEP IRA is either 25% of eligible compensation or 58,000. We'll use for this year 2021. The previous year, which 2020, was 57,000, right? But it's whichever is lower, the 25% or the 58,000, right? And note that that rule's going to change, right? The rules on determining eligible compensation, right, which are different for self-employed and employed SEP participants, they can be really complex and stuff like that. So really, you know, talk to someone who knows what they're doing, or you can go to the IRS website and try to look it up yourself. To me, that sounds like a headache. It would be much easier to just consult somebody, right? Now, let's say you have employees, right? You have to set up accounts for those who are eligible, and you have to contribute the same percentage to their accounts that you contribute for yourself. Employees cannot contribute to the account. The employer makes all the contributions. So, who is this going to help in the end, right? Well, this account works well for freelancers and sole entrepreneurs, right? Like if I were to change my YouTube into an actual business and it was just me, this might work really well for me, right? But it also is good for businesses with employees as long as the owners don't mind making the same percentage contributions for the employees that they would make for themselves, right? The SEP IRA is generally easy and inexpensive to set up and maintain. Plus, there are typically no tax forms to file. Something to keep in mind, though, is the deadline to set up the account is the federal income tax filing deadline, right? The next thing is going to be a self employed 401k, or also known as a solo 401k. This can be an option for maximizing your retirement savings, even if you're not making a lot of money. So, who can open one? Well, if you're self employed or own a business or partnership with no employees, you can open a solo 401k. A spouse who works in the business can participate as well, right? So you're going to get two opportunities for contributing to a solo 401k. First, as the employee, and again, as the employer. As the employee, you can choose to make a tax deductible or Roth contribution of up to 100% of your compensation with a maximum of, let's see, 2021, it's gone up to 19,500. I think it was the same last year, but I think it's gone up from years prior. And once you're over the age of 50, you can also make catch-up contributions for, like, let's say this year. Like if you're over the age of 50 now, you can make catch-up contributions for, let's say, last year and this year and save an extra 6,500 for a total of 26,000 for both years. As the employer, you can contribute up to 25% of your eligible earnings. The employer contribution is always made before tax, right? Again, like we were talking about with the other one, right? You really need to talk to a tax expert, right, about the figuring out the eligible earnings, right? Like you could probably go to the IRS website to try to figure it out, but I would highly recommend you talking to someone who knows what they're talking about, right? I would hate for you to mess something up and cost yourself thousands of dollars. So, who's this going to help, right? So, these accounts give small business owners the opportunity to save quite a bit, of money each year. The total that can be contributed for employee and employer is 58,000 in 2021 or 57,000 in 2020, plus an additional 6,500 in both of those years for people 50 and over, right? Something to keep in mind though is that after the plan assets hit a quarter of a million, which is $250,000, you have to file. It's a certain form you have to file with the IRS. I don't know the number for it. It's in the 5,000s. The deadline for setting up the plan is the end of the fiscal year, generally the last business day of the year. You can make employer contributions to the account until your tax filing deadline for the year, including extensions, right? So, the next one we're going to talk about, it's going to be a simple IRA, right? So, like a 401k, this account offers tax deferral and pre-tax contributions plus an employee contribution and an employer match. So, who's going to open this, right? Or who can open this? Anyone who is self employed or a small business owner can open a simple IRA. Small businesses with 100 employees or fewer can also open a simple IRA plan, right? So, like the self employed 401k, you get two chances to contribute. As the employee, you can contribute up to 100% of your compensation, up to, I think it's, last year was 13 and a half. I think it's still 13,500 this year. As the employer, you must either put in a 3% matching contribution or a 2% non-elective contribution. The latter is not contingent on the employee contribution, the way a matching contribution to a 401k typically is. But be aware that a simple IRA can require the employer to make contributions to the plan, even if the business has no profits, right? So, who is this going to be good for? Who's this going to help, right? So, the simple IRA is an inexpensive plan for businesses with fewer than 100 employees. It also allows for salary deferrals by employees, and there are no tax forms to file. The simple IRA also allows those aged 50 and over to save an additional $3,000 a year. Something I want you to keep in mind is the deadline to set up the plan is the 1st of October. You can make matching and non-elective contributions until the company's tax filing deadline, including extensions, right? So one of the last things I want to talk about, which I feel like it has been overlooked for a long time, and I feel like about now here recently, we'll say in the past like 6 months or so, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it, but I don't actually know a lot of people that take advantage of it. Is that HSA, a health savings account, right? So you should consider a health savings account, right? So, you know, if you have an HSA eligible health plan, these accounts offer a lot of benefits, right? Including a tax deduction, tax free growth potential, and tax free withdrawals to pay for qualified medical expenses either now or in retirement, right? And after, so after you turn 65, if you don't need the money for healthcare costs, you can take withdrawals from that account penalty free, right? But similar to a traditional IRA, taxes on contributions and earnings are going to be due, right? And I know a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I'm putting all my money in my, because where I work, we have employee matching, right? And it's like, oh, I put all my money in my employee matching. I have more money I want to invest. I don't know what to do." And the first thing I would say is, "Why are you maxing out your HSA?" And they're like, "What HSA?" They're like, "I don't put money in that." I'm like, "You should. There's way too many benefits." I would really recommend, if you have the option, right? If you have an HSA eligible health plan, do it. You won't regret it. Like, let's say you get hurt or you get sick or something, and you need to, that money is set to the side. It doesn't even have to be a lot, but again, it can grow, and then when you need it, it's like an extra emergency fund on top of your emergency fund, right? For when you get sick, for medicine. It's really good. I really recommend it, right? So I really hope you guys got a couple ideas of different options that are available to you. You don't always need to work for a company that has a retirement plan for you. You can, in fact, do it yourself, right? So I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you guys can go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And until I see you guys in the next video, y'all be safe.